How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the nasty civilian segment of Colorado Custom Leather and Blades, where you get to get to know me, the maker behind the hammer and anvil, where I talk, all things life, what's going on in life. A lot of the videos are going to be about RV life, the thing my wife and I are learning how to do, as she's a nurse contractor, and we're here in Utah on a contract for 13 weeks, and we are learning a lot, which I'm going to share about this week. So here's what we're going to talk about: all things RV toilets, how you can avoid a very crappy situation, pun intended. Um, and I'll tell you this: if you're buying a used RV from somebody that's just trying to sell it, that's not going to share a lot of knowledge and stuff. These are going to be hard lessons you're going to learn the hard way, and I'm trying to add value to you so you can avoid that. So please don't click off of this. One thing I'm trying to do with being a YouTuber, having my business on YouTube, is if I'm watching a video, even if I get bored of it, I'm going to finish it. Reason why is because it helps the YouTube guy. But this is some important information because you can really have some bad situations happen if you're doing it seasonally, even on a weekend, or you're doing it for 13 weeks if you're a nurse contractor, or you're going full time and this is your first time. Seasonal use is what we're learning. The colder months of the year are probably as difficult as the hot months of the year. But let's talk about it. Proper RV toilet use. I'm going to throw my wife under the bus and myself. We're going to start with proper toilet paper, how to unclog your system, and tank use. Ending with, I'm going to talk a little about what's been going on with me. Aside from why you haven't seen a video in a while, is I was really sick, like the sickest I've been in a while. I was sick for about 7 days almost. Before I felt 100%, sickest I've been in a long time. It was a flu virus. Um, didn't eat a lot for 4 or 5 days. Couldn't keep hydrated. Super high fevers. And then I couldn't keep anything down when I was trying to eat. So, anyways, back at it. Here we are. Yeah. So, and talk a little bit about some depression I've been going through, because this is about me, the maker. It's to add value to people that go through things in life, and if I can help encourage you, add value to you, that's what I love to use these platforms for. Ending with the scripture for the passage for the month. So, proper RV toilet use. Number one is toilet paper. Make sure you have RV toilet paper. So here's the story. My wife was ordering things before we went on contract, and went on Amazon and typed in RV toilet paper. The first thing that popped up was Angel Soft. And innocent as it was, she just clicked buy. She didn't look at the description. I didn't look at the packaging because I trust my wife. We're learning this RV stuff. We didn't know any better. But you really want to buy RV toilet paper because you're going to run into a situation like we did, or worse, which I'm going to talk about how you can avoid by buying RV toilet paper. And here's a pro tip. Okay, so we're not even pros, but pro tip. Okay, test your RV toilet paper because not all of them are equal. The one we just bought hopefully will actually be for good use. Test it in water. If it is truly biodegradable, it will disappear in a matter of minutes, if not an hour, and that's what you want. Okay, you don't want it to build up at the bottom of your tank, even if you have a straight pipe or an angled system like we have. Okay, so this was not RV toilet paper, and what happened was the toilet bowl was not emptying into the 3-inch pipe that goes into our black tank properly. I mean, we were still getting stuff in there, we were still emptying it, but it was not fully draining. Problematic. What could have happened, what will happen if you don't heed my advice on getting proper RV toilet paper and testing it, and also every now and then putting chemicals into your tanks to help break down solids and toilet paper. Even the biodegradable stuff won't always go disappear, and if you don't empty it a lot, like that's another mistake I'm going to talk about, like a lot of people make. We didn't learn this one the hard way. Well, we kind of did, but not the black tank, the gray tank. But we'll get to that in a second. So here's how you unclog your system. You're going to have to get a snake, and you're going to have to go around in that bowl and open the seal okay? And you're gonna have to push that thing out. Now here's two things I'm gonna recommend. Don't go cheap on your snake. Get the more expensive one that has a little bit more rigidity. That's not as flexible as the cheaper snake. Or if you go to the cheaper snake, spend the $13 on some black piping that's for dishwasher or disposal use. It's a tube that has a little bit of cordage in it, so it's flexible, but it's harder to flex than that snake, and you'll be able to push things through. Now our system designed is the bowl's here, tube, and it angles out and drops into, or angles down and drops into the black tank. So for 2 days we worked at this. I'm not lying, 2 days. And we made a little bit of improvement each day. And this is another way you can avoid the blockage, and also pyramid plugs. That just sounds nasty. Two things. Number one, proper toilet use, which I didn't learn this until the other day. Whenever you use the restroom, I get that this is really gross stuff, I get it, but this is gonna, the worst thing that can happen, I'm just gonna say this, okay? Your tube's full and your toilet's overflowing and spilling out over the seams. Happens. Don't do that. We didn't have that happen, thankfully. Thank God. But it still was not fun. It was a crappy situation, pun intended. Another thing, make sure your toilet has a sprayer. Okay, well, ours doesn't, so it's another problem we have to fix. But anyways, proper toilet use. Whenever you're using it, if you press so there's a lever on the side and there's usually a pedal. Some, I think now modern RVs actually have kind of real toilets, which is kind of cool, but you want to make sure your bowl has a lot of water. You don't want to just use the water at the very bottom. Now you can use the saying, if it's yellow, let it mellow. If you can, you and your partner or you yourself or whoever's in there can stand the smell. But if you have kids and stuff, you really want to teach them, fill up that bowl, do your business. You don't have to fill it up all the way if it's number one. But fill it up a little bit, and then when you have 3 kids and they all got to go pee, let them go pee and then flush it. Okay, but fill it about halfway. You don't have to pull the lever all the way, just a little bit, and it'll start to fill up. Same thing with the pedal, just push it down a little bit, it'll start to fill the bowl. Number 2, you want to fill that thing almost all the way up, or at least halfway. Do your business, flush it down, then fill that bowl all the way up, and then flush it down. Okay, it's called a courtesy flush or double tap, and you want to do that. A lot of people recommend opening that seal up for 15 seconds and letting that water run down. This is just a better way. It's just direct pressure. And then again, chemicals every now and then. So the other thing is, with winter, especially, or colder months, you never ever want to leave your tanks open, meaning your gray valve and your black tank. You don't want to leave those open because it makes sense. Yeah, just continuous flow. Then you don't have to go out there. My wife and I have learned that we need to empty that thing every other day, if not max of 3 days. Here's what happened. We were doing it once a week. We thought, oh, 40 gallons. How much are we really using? We have 2 dogs. We do dishes. We cook constantly. We don't really go out to eat that much. We shower. Shower is going to use a lot of water that's going to fill your tank up. Well, we have an overflow system and it was spilling out. So now what we need, especially in the colder months, because ice is not your friend, you need to empty those. I would just recommend empty your tanks every other day. It's not going to hurt anything. In fact, it'll probably help keep your systems a lot cleaner and you won't have as much smell. So that's just a pro tip. And also, if you didn't know this, this is something we didn't learn the hard way, always open your black tank before your gray tank. Black tank first, icky gross stuff, then your gray tank to flush it all out. Make sure your snake, your snake, stinky, slinky, whatever you want to call it, is sealed to that thing. That's just gross if you let that thing flop all around and you got a mess. Somehow make sure that thing, tape it, whatever, seal that thing in there. Just like you don't want bad situations. Again, I had to use a snake and a black tubing to push all of our plug down. Hopefully we got it now. Another thing with the toilet, and ending with the toilet part. Look down that thing every now and then to make sure water's not building up, because you can solve the problem before it gets bad. So also, last thing on the RV stuff, and then we're going to talk about depression. We had frozen pipes this morning. It was about 18 degrees last night, maybe a little bit colder, and we do have a heated hose and it still froze. Most RVs have a PEX tubing, not copper, not PVC. So you don't really risk a burst too much. That can happen. Easy fix though. But if it does happen, don't freak out. You can put a if it's not 24 degrees during the day or something like that where it's super cold, it's going to be 35 that day or something like that. It's still cold, but it's not freezing temperatures. If you have insulation, which I'm going to talk about next week, eventually your pipes, your PEX tubing will heat up and water will flow. And that's what I learned today. I'd actually call a friend of mine who's like a father figure. I'm like, hey, so this is what's going on. He's like, yeah, no. I was like, so do I just keep the valves open? He's like, yeah, because that'll continuously make water come out and it'll break it up. So if you do have frozen pipes, you don't really have to worry about breakage that much. You can happen, but you can avoid it by this. If you really are worried about it, look at your weather always. Turn off your water at night, and then you won't have frozen pipes. And keep gallons of water on standby, because if you do have one of those days where it's 15 degrees for a high, and it's guaranteed your pipes are going to freeze, even with insulation, skirting, whatever, you can still have water to drink, water to cook with, water to use your toilet system, water for your animals, and you're good. You can turn that water off. You're not going to have to worry about any breaks or any of that stuff. But that's just tips, guys. But it will eventually thaw out and you'll have running water again. But you can put a space heater under there and help things a little faster. But I would not keep it plugged in at all times because that's a fire hazard. Anyways, depression and ending here. This is quick, fast, and simple, guys. Depression is something that's never curable. A lot of people deal with it, and it is serious. Here's what I recommend. You can go to a counselor, you can get prescriptions and all that stuff, but this is something my foster mom taught me. She taught me a lot of tough love. She pulled me out of the counseling system, and she started to teach me how to deal with myself. So it's awesome being on contract with my wife because I get to see her every day. The first contract, she was all the way in Indiana, and I was home in Colorado doing security contracting, finishing that up in knife making. And that was rough. It wasn't like we were scared for our marriage. That's not even a year. It's the fact that we just love being around each other and we love going on adventures, and it was really hard. So being in this whole new adventure, being away from home, being away from my shop, being away from family is just one thing. My goal this year is to keep in contact and be more present with family because that's something I've just struggled with my whole life. I mean, I've been adopted 3 times and I love my family, but it's a two-way street, right? But anyway, so I really had to just sit myself down, and this is the first thing you need to do is you need to sit yourself down and ask yourself what's been new, what's been going on, what's if you had a loss or something like that, ask yourself how you're feeling about that, what's been going on in your mind. And this is something I had to do on Sunday with my wife. I had to just tell her like, hey, I just got to tell you something. I got to come clean on. I think I've been really dealing with some depression issues, and that's why I've been kind of off. And if I've been weird, I'm sorry. She's like, no, I've been noticing that. I'm glad you're telling me that. Talk to somebody that you trust. That's not going to judge you or what. Just hear you out. Somebody that has wisdom. It doesn't have to be your spouse. It can be a father figure, a friend, someone that's actually going to hold you accountable and not allow you to stay in that area, because the worst thing you can do is keep in that thought process. Lastly, look yourself in the mirror. It sounds super weird, and give yourself self-motivation, self-actualization. Tell yourself like, this is not how it's going to always be, but this is how it is right now, and this is how we're going to look at it. This sucks what's going on, but tomorrow is a new day. In fact, in 2 hours from now, it's a totally different timeline. I'm still going to be dealing with the problem, but I'm going to do it differently because I'm going to change my mindset. And then if you want to get counseling, awesome. Talk to yourself first, search your soul. And I'm going to throw this one in here. A lot of people are going to like this, but I'm a Christian and I'm not ashamed of that. Talk with God. Have a real conversation. I'm not going to tell you to do the church Sunday school. Have a real conversation. I've cussed at God. I've screamed at God. And a lot of people are not going to agree with that, and that's fine. You don't have the relationship that I have with God. You've not had the life that I have with God. Am I condoning that? No, but be real with God, because He can handle it, and He can handle you, and He has you in the palm of your hands. Ending, guys. Philippians 4, 12, and 13 is going to be November's verse of the month, and that is, I know how to be brought low, and I know how to be abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance in need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Okay, so that is the verse of the month. Pretty pretty fitting for what I just talked about. Anyways, guys, if you have questions, if you want to talk about what's been going on, you want to message me, I can't promise I can solve it for you. That's going to be on you, but I would love to help you if I can, because that's what the Nasty Civilian segment is about. All right, guys, God bless, enjoy, and we'll see you soon.